Good morning. Before we begin, as is our practice, I have some announcements for you. You'll also find them on the back of your order of service. So some I'm going to skim over, others I'll spend a little bit more time with. Just a warning about a scam alert. The church will never, ever, ever send you a text or an email requesting the purchase of gift cards. And it seems like these scam messages are coming from Reverend Rod, and they're not. So just be aware. This Thursday, May 16th, the Death Cafe will be meeting again in our lobby from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And it is a group. Well, we're all dying, really, if you think about it. But in our culture, we don't always talk about or think about death very rationally. And here's an opportunity to just share your thoughts and hear where others are on the journey. Next up, you were so generous with the auction. I don't know if we've ever announced it, but we have realized over $21,000 from the auction as the net profit. And all of those things that you donated, we're very, very appreciative of, and we really feel like you're going to be just as generous as you clean out your house and declutter and simplify your lives. Bring those items to us, and we will put it in our yard sale. However, if you have a lot of stuff and you want to rent a space for your own table, you can do that too at the yard sale. And there's details in the information on the back of your order of service. But you can get in contact with the office. Nancy has all of the help that you would need. You can have a space, a table in space, and you can have a space, 2 tables, and an easy up. Whoa. That's the way to do a yard sale in style. And of course, since it's August 17th, we have to worry a little bit about the heat. So shade will be nice. The Tomball Gallery continues its showing of Roditi Whimsy, featuring the work of Martha Roditi, and it continues on through May 26th. A reminder, the gallery is now open Friday through Sunday, 10 to 2 on Friday and Saturday, and 11 to 2 on Sunday, 11:30 to 2, excuse me. We got to finish the service, have some hospitality, and then you can go to the gallery at 11:30 to 2. And today we have a roundtable. As you know, we're trying to resurrect what we had before COVID, so we now have 3 planners, Jan Thompson, Steve Hitchka, and Janet Martinique. And they are really open to ideas that you might have for good roundtables in the future. But today they will be meeting in the library after the church service and hospitality, starting at 11:45 to 12:45. And today's guest is Dr. John Hill. He's a colleague who will speak about public education, how it can be improved in New Mexico. Reminder too, Mindfulness Group is now meeting just one day, Tuesdays from 3 to 4 in our great room. If you have questions, contact Carol Allen. She's the person who knows what's what. And we now have a new group meeting under our roof, and it is a result of the combination of Animal Advocates Ministry, the Climate Action Group, and the Social Justice Committee. And the new program is called Vegan Las Vegas. Oh, that makes me think of Las Cruces. Oh, I said Las Vegas, didn't I? I am thinking of Elvis this morning. Oh, what a wonder. Anyway, so it's a support group, information sharing and support for people who have adopted a vegan diet or are interested in such, the patterns, and considering reducing or eliminating their consumption of meat, dairy, and egg products. So more details on the back of your order of service, and the point of contact is Dave Steele. Don't forget, Next Sunday, May 19th, there will be a Visioning Action Day after service where all who participated in the Casita meetings will help identify the most important ideas to tackle first and determine who wants to help prioritize change for the future. Light lunch will be served. And if you are interested in being a delegate to the UUA Assembly for our congregation, you need to talk to Jan Thompson. The dates are June 19th through June 23rd, and you can do this right here in Las Cruces. No need for travel. It is virtual this year. And the church has budgeted some funds to help with registration. And if you decide to be a delegate, we have an open invitation from First Unitarian in Albuquerque to go up there to meet, watch, and discuss General Assembly with other UUs. Another way to network and to fellowship. Okay, and we're getting very close to the time to begin our service, so please put your phones in worship mode if you haven't already. And for those who are visiting us through YouTube, if you're joining us for the first time, if you're a visitor, please type your name and tell us where you're from in the chat, so later on we can introduce you too. You want me to do it?
Good morning. Good morning. And welcome. So good to see you on this beautiful morning. I'm Catherine Massey, Director of Music. We like to begin our service with some singing. Now Let Us Sing is our gathering song, and the words will be on the monitors. Once you get the hang of it, feel free to set your hymnal down if you have one to do the surprise clap. I invite you to rise and body your spirit as we sing together.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, choir. That was a terrific start for this service. Good morning, and welcome to the Sunday service for the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. To begin this morning, we honor all mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, stepmothers, mothers-in-law, expecting mothers, and mothers in training. We want to especially reach out to any of you who have lost a child, as we know that this day can be especially challenging. Whether you're a regular here or visiting us for the first time or viewing the service via streaming media, we hope that you find some measure of enrichment and fulfillment here today. There's a saying that it takes a community to raise a child. Well, I know it takes a community to organize and put on a UU service. So please allow me a moment or two to acknowledge those who are assisting today. Our minister, Reverend Rod Thompson, will not be in the pulpit. Charlie Schultz is our service leader. Catherine Massey is our music director. She leads and is joined by the UUCLC choir. Our director of religious education is Kelly Ingram, and on the tech side, we have Elwin Nunn on camera, Claire Wallace working the soundboard, and Mike Yasko managing our YouTube interface. The slides that you see are a result of Mike's work. Our chalice table was prepared by Jillian Lang and Diane Lee. Peggy Devlin, John Seeley, and Diane Lee are serving as greeters, and today we have special readers, Ed Long and Linda Rashala. Charlie's going to need a little help with his homily, so Peggy Devlin and Kevin will add their voices. My name is Katie Fitzgerald, and I am your service associate. We are all delighted to be with you and equally glad that you are here with us. We here at the UUCLC are striving to become a beloved community. We embrace diversity in all its forms. Everyone is welcome. Unitarian Universalism has no creed, nor dogma. We are a covenant-based church, meaning that we agree to live in relationship with each other according to the Unitarian Universalist principles and our congregation's covenant of right relations. You can learn more about our church and check the events calendar at our website, uuchurchlc.org. If you're visiting here today in the sanctuary, we'd like to meet you. If you would stand and wait a moment while we get the microphone to you, and then let us know who you are and where you're from. Do we have any visitors today? Well, it doesn't look like it. How about none on the YouTube either? Okay. Well, it's just us folks then, huh? Wiggalos. We will have, as usual, our opportunity for fellowship with one another after the service. We hope that you will gather in the RE Great Room for treats, coffee, and conversation. And since it's such a glorious morning, there are going to be chairs on the outside for those who prefer to be outside enjoying the weather. This week's hospitality offerings are sponsored by the membership committee.
Our opening words today are from Reverend Sharon Wiley. It is said that ministers are here to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. I say we are all afflicted and we are all comfortable. May our time together this morning be a comfort and a confrontation. May we find here peace in times of tumult. May we invite tumult into the lives of peace. May we here find calm in times of restlessness. May we allow restlessness to evolve into action. May this be the place you consider whatever you've never considered. Let this be the place you imagine for yourself something new and unthinkable. May this hour bring dreams of new ways of being in the world. Come, let us worship together. Our chalice lighting this morning is from Reverend Claudine Oliva. We light this chalice for mothers and mothering, to celebrate those who have taken on the task of nurturing a young one, a baby, a child, a youth, into adulthood, to celebrate those who have nourished the light of truth and compassion in growing minds and hearts, to celebrate those who have committed time money, energy, compassion in the growth of others in this world. We light this chalice to celebrate and hold dear this flame of love. Would you please rise as you are willing and able, and join me in saying our covenant and then the singing of the doxology in English and Spanish. The words are on the screen. Love is the document of this church. The quest of truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the creation. Thus we do covenant with one another.
Good morning, church. Good morning, Happy Mothering Sunday. Did you know more phone calls are made today than any other day of the year? Today I'll be reading Pup and Bear by Kate Banks. Whoosh! When the great gray owl swooped down screeching, the Arctic wolves knew that the great freeze was on its way. They then took shelter in a snowdrift and listened to the fierce winds holler and roar. They watched the snow fall in spirals, wrapping the world in a fluffy white coat. But then, the wind's bitter cold breath turned warm, and the sun started to appear. Now the big melt came, and one lone wolf pup found itself on a broken sheet of ice, spinning out into the sea. The pup slid into the freezing cold water, and he swam, and he swam, and when he finally reached land, he burrowed into a snowbank. He was tired, and he wanted his mother. The pup closed his eyes and fell asleep, listening to the silence across the landscape. He awoke to the feel of a cold nose against his fur. The smell was familiar. It was a polar bear. "You are not my mother," said the pup, flattening his ears against his head. "I am not your mother," said the polar bear, "but I can cuddle you and I can keep you safe." The pup was shy and frightened. "Aren't you going to eat me?" "Polar bears eat wolves." "Not this one," said the polar bear, shaking her head. "Climb on my back and I will take you to my den." The pup stepped a paw forward, cautiously, then climbed on the polar bear's back. And then they crossed the cold tundra under the watchful eyes of baby puffins just learning to fly. Back at the den, the polar bear licked and cleaned the wolf pup. "I am not your mother," she said, "but I can feed you and I can keep you warm." The next day, the pup and the bear set off across the wintry tundra. When they spotted a walrus with long, sharp tusks, the polar bear loudly bellowed and snuffed, making the pup feel safe. "Where are we going?" asked the pup as they got nearer to the water. "I am not your mother," said the polar bear, "but I can show you how to catch a fish." They passed a snow goose resting on a nest of eggs. They sniffed the trail of a seal as it tried to outsmart them. Then they stopped at the water's edge, where the fish and the lemmings came and went in the wondrous wheel of life. The sun shone down on the crisp, crackling snow, and the polar bear rolled into the snowbank. "Come on," she said to the pup. "I am not your mother, but I can play with you." But when the pup tugged a little too hard at the polar bear's fur, the bear growled. "I am not your mother," she said, "but I can scold you." Then she nuzzled the puppy and tickled his tummy. Tired at last, the pup curled up against the bear and they napped, listening to the winds whimper and sigh. The earth turned round and round, and the big freeze came, followed by the big melt, until at last the polar bear nudged the wolf, who wasn't a puppy anymore. "I am not your mother," she said, "but I know when it is time for you to go." She nuzzled the wolf one last time, and the wolf nuzzled her back. Then he walked out into the wide world. The wolf howled at the midnight sun, where the day ended and the night began, and he was answered by the cry of another wolf. Soon he was leading his own pack across the frozen tundra. Then one day, the wolf came upon a polar bear cub, huddled, scared in a snowdrift. "Where is your mother?" asked the wolf, but the cub didn't know. The wolf sniffed the cub and rubbed its fur with a wet nose. "You are not my mother," said the cub, cowering. "I am not your mother," said the wolf, "but I can cuddle you and I can keep you warm." "Aren't you going to eat me?" said the cub. "Wolves eat polar bears." "Not this one," said the wolf, shaking his head. "Climb on my back and I will take you to my den." The polar bear clambered onto the wolf's back. "I am not your mother," said the wolf, "but you can stay with me until you are big enough to be on your own." And the wolf led the pack across the tundra, along the path that goes round and round in the wondrous wheel of life. Thank you.
Now, if you would rise in body or spirit and join us in the opening hymn, number 8, Mother Spirit, Father Spirit. The words will be on the screen.
In the stars on in the
We respect and are grateful for the many contributions of your time, your talent and treasure, as they are a tangible commitment to the mission and vision of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. Each time you give, you renew your commitment to our congregation's goals. And as a result, your support is intertwined with all that we believe and all that we do here together. In this spirit of trust and generosity, the greeters will pass among you to accept the offering. The church continues its support of organizations identified by the Social Justice Committee as recipients of our Change for Change program. We collect your actual change, checks that have Change for Change noted in the memo line, as well as online donations for this purpose. So please be generous as the basket is passed and continue your Change for Change donations. This quarter, the recipient for our Change for Change dollars is CASA, C-A-S-A, which stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates. This is an organization dedicated to working to even the playing field for children and youth in the foster care system. Please be generous.
In my long association with Unitarian Universalism, I've met a number of UU ministers, and I've heard some of them say that the two most difficult days for them are Easter and Mother's Day. Easter because of the association with death and resurrection of Christ, which is problematic for some UUs, and Mother's Day because it reminds many women and men of the difficult relationships they had with their mothers. Nevertheless, I think Mother's Day should be a day to honor all mothers, regardless of our feelings about them. So this morning, I've asked two of our members to speak about the things they remember about the women who mothered them. And then I'll talk about my own experience with my mother and with mothering.
Merry meet, my friends. I'm Kevin. So what would Mother's Day be without a few Yo Mama jokes? Everybody remember Yo Mama? Yo Mama is so clean, she made her husband shave his head and wear a big gold earring. Yo Mama is such a housekeeper, she rakes the shag carpet immediately after anyone walks across the living room. Anybody have to rake their carpet when they were younger? Yo Mama is so sweet, only 1 out of 12 dentists recommend her. Anyway, there are 3 mothers that I would like to honor today. Both of my grandmothers and my own mother, of course. We lived in a huge house in Denver. At least it seemed huge to a tiny tot. 3 stories and a basement. My grandfather, my grandmother, my aunt, her 5 children, my parents, and I all lived there. I was the youngest cousin in the house. My parents both worked, so I spent my days in my grandmother's care. Her name was Kathleen Fitzgerald. Yes. But we all called her Ma Mère. I would follow her around the big old house while she did her chores. Sometimes she would even let me help. While we worked, she would tell me stories and teach me lessons. She would read to me every day, instilling an interest and desire to read that remains deeply rooted to this day. She loved to play the piano. I would sit on the floor beneath her, listening to her music. She would play her piano while I played with my toys. She tried to teach me the piano, but I was no child prodigy. I did not have the attention span or perseverance to practice. Perhaps if we had stayed in Denver, she would have been able to teach me to play the piano. When I was 10 years old, we moved to Arizona, where my other grandparents lived. We did not live with them, but saw them often. My grandmother's name was Ada Peterson. She was a kind and caring person and would often take care of me. My grandfather died soon after we moved to Arizona, and she owned a small trailer park. In this family, I was the oldest grandchild, so I had more responsibilities. I made a mistake one day, complaining that there was nothing to do at her house. Well, she found something for me to do. I spent the rest of the day out in the orchard weeding. I learned a valuable lesson that day. Never tell Grandma that there's nothing to do. Every 2 weeks, her property would be scheduled for flood irrigation. We'd have to open and close gates to let the water in, fill the grassy areas and orchard with about 4 inches of water. Somehow, I would always manage to fall into the ditch, come out all wet and muddy. Grandma would take me out back and hose me off to get rid of all the mud. I hated that. So once, after my irrigation baptism, I managed to sneak into the bathroom to wash up there. Understandably, I created quite a mess. So she made me clean up the entire bathroom, as well as the muddy path I left through the house. I hated that even more than the hosing. Thanksgiving was always a special memory at the Peterson house. All of the aunts and uncles and cousins would gather at Grandma's house that day. She would line all the grandkids up in a row, tallest to smallest, for the annual family photo. We'd spend days baking and cooking and getting ready for the holidays. It always amazed me, all the time and effort that she put into preparing a meal for the family that would be over in just an hour. As she aged, dementia started creeping into her brain. She could no longer live by herself and moved in with my mother. One day a week, I would take her out and give my mother a break. We'd go to the park, have a picnic, fly a kite, feed the ducks, and chat. She would tell me stories about her early life living in a small farm town in Iowa. It was amazing to me that she had such vivid memories of the distant past, but yesterday, or even an hour ago, was a total blur. We'd gone full circle. She used to take care of me, and now I was taking care of her. My parents managed an apartment complex after we moved to Arizona. We had an apartment in the complex, and the office was attached to our apartment, so my mother was always at home when we were young. Education was very important, so we were sent to private school. She made sure that our homework was always done correctly and that we were always on top of our studies. We wore uniforms to school, but my mother would make most of our play clothes. May seem kind of geeky now, but I liked it when my mother, sister, and I all wore matching outfits. I often wonder how Dad avoided that one. She was able to give me jobs around the complex, watering the lawns, cleaning pools, planting, painting, or weeding. Must run in the family, I think. I was able to earn my own spending money, which made me proud. This developed a positive work ethic that served me well throughout my life. We had family dinner every night, sharing the events of our day and our observations. I thank her for providing such a warm, stable family atmosphere to allow me to grow and thrive. I thank her for the support, both physical and emotional, that she provided. I thank her for the guidance and advice she provided while allowing me to make my own decisions. I would not have been able to enjoy the full, successful, rewarding life that I have lived without the foundation that she provided. So happy Mother's Day to all who qualify, and we can all appreciate our mothers and our childhood memories today.
I am one of those blessed mothers with a wonderful family. But today I'm going to talk about something that is not very popular to talk about. It's mother-in-laws. Okay, is that better?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. I want to pay tribute to my mother-in-law this Mother's Day. I only hope that she knew how I felt about her, for I did tell her many times. When I was married many, many years ago, I was young, naive, and as I am now, outspoken. She accepted me unconditionally, as you would any child. But unfortunately, not all mother-in-laws do that. She wrote me a beautiful letter when we became engaged, welcoming me into the family and thanking me for making her son happy. I was touched and impressed, and I still have that letter. Through the years, despite some differences, we became even closer. We were truly family. When my father-in-law would become gruff and impatient with our two often rambunctious sons, she would always find a minute alone with us to come and apologize for him. I would assure her we were all family and would love one another, no matter how grumpy one of us got. Our sons didn't remember Pap-Pap as being harsh at all. We never dwelt on the negative. That was another lesson I learned from her. Another insight was that she always tried to be a peacemaker. She had a great sense of humor and enjoyed life. When we would visit, because we lived several states apart, she would say to the boys, "You have to stay up a little late tonight because I have a new game to teach you." They really made the visits to grandparents very special for them, not boring, and not feeling left out with all the grown-up activities and conversations. She also had many jokes to tell them. She lived to enjoy great-grandchildren too, and they her. Unfortunately, she had dementia in her later years. It was heartbreaking to watch this vibrant woman go through that. However, she somehow kept her spirit and was happy most of the time, dancing and singing like a carefree child. She was living in a wonderful assisted living home about a mile from where we lived at the time. I would visit her daily. She didn't know me, but she knew love and that I was there for her, and we loved each other. My mother told me my bladder was misplaced because my eyes water all the time. Oh. When Minnie asked me why I visited her every day, since she wasn't my mother. There were two reasons. One was I loved her, and she gave me the greatest gift I ever received, her son, with all of his kindness and goodness. And my bladder is misplaced, I'm sorry. Kevin, it was a hard act to follow. You were wonderful.
Thank you, Kevin and Peggy. I recall we celebrated Mother's Day at our house by taking my mother out to dinner. That was so she didn't have to cook. Or else my sister would help my dad prepare a meal. And my dad always bought either flowers or candy for my mom. My mother didn't like being the center of attention or having special attention paid to her. When my sister and I tried to decide a gift for her birthday or for Christmas, she would say, oh, just give me a white blouse. And that was it. Okay. Sometimes we were creative and bought her new kitchen utensils, some of which she was using for the last 20 years or so. And she would put them away and say, they're too new to use. She was a very private person. She kept all of her emotions locked in herself and rarely showed any affection. And I don't remember her hugging me or kissing me, though I imagine she did that when I was little. But I don't remember her showing any affection to my father either. But overall, I got along pretty well with my mother, even though I don't think she ever understood what I was doing, or if she did, she didn't approve of it. So. The church I attended when I was a child always honored mothers on Mother's Day. They would have the oldest mother and the youngest mother and the mother with the most children stand up, and everybody would applaud. And then the ushers would give each of them a corsage. Later on, they kind of loosened up on that, and they decided that this recognition should include mothers-in-law and grandmothers, and eventually all those women who weren't necessarily birth mothers, but who had acted as mothers. They no longer gave corsages, though. Over time, we've come to recognize that some individuals have acted as our mothers. We've seen that already from Peggy and Kevin. I think of my sister, too, who was a missionary and who never married or had any children, but spent most of her life caring for people and mothering them. And you may know other people like that. There is one person in this tribute, though, to mothers that we haven't mentioned, the single male parent. This is someone who may have had to act as both mother and father to his family. I'm one of those. My first wife died in 1975, leaving me with two young boys, aged 3 and 7. After she passed away, my first task was to meet their needs, of course, take care of their clothing and make sure they were fed and stayed healthy. I was fortunate to have a support group in the neighborhood of friends and neighbors who helped me with these things by giving me advice and aid when I needed it. But I soon realized that I really had to be both mother and father to my sons, mainly because they didn't have any other family nearby. It was an interesting time. I discovered what many single parents find, that when you have young children, you don't have very much time for yourself until the kids are in bed and asleep. And by then, you're probably exhausted too. I was fortunate in that first year because it was summer and the older boy was home from school, and so he could watch his brother and play with him while I did things around the house. And I only taught a 4-week class that summer at the university, so I had more free time. And there was a young woman who lived just up the street who liked the boys and was willing to babysit. But what's more interesting about that was being in this position that I began to see the difference between how I, a single male parent, was treated compared to the single female parents that I knew. A real education for me. For instance, when I was registering my younger boy for preschool, I was the only male parent there. And I was made to feel very special because the person in charge praised me for taking time out of my busy day to attend. I don't think she ever said that to any of the women who were there, who also had taken time out of their busy days to attend. When my older boy went to Cub Scouts that fall, after one of the den meetings, he came home with the cookie jar and said, "We have to provide treats." And I said, "Oh, that's great," because I looked forward to making some oatmeal raisin cookies with the boys. That was one of the few things I really knew how to do. But the next day, the den mother called me and said, because of my situation, she didn't expect me to make cookies, that I could buy them from the store. I assured her that I was completely capable of making cookies and that we would be happy to supply them. Finally, there was this societal attitude about women's work. You know what I'm talking about. It's cleaning and cooking and, taking care of the laundry, right? I can't say that when I was a single parent I did all those things well, but I did them. And I taught my boys how to do them too. I was at a church dinner many years ago and helping set up the tables and chairs, and when I was finished, I asked if there was anything else I could do. And one of the women who was preparing the food said, "Do you know how to set the table?" And I thought, yeah, I've done that 100 times. And I said, sure. So I proceeded to lay out the plates and the glasses and the flatware and put the napkin on the correct side. When the woman checked my work, she remarked, "You must have been well trained by your mother." I didn't tell her that this was one of my many jobs when I was both mother and father to my boys. I don't know if I would have survived in that dual role forever. It was difficult for me at times. Maybe I could have continued to do so because I knew some other men who had done that. But fortunately, I was rescued by another loving woman, my wife Nancy, who helped me to run the house and mother the children. Looking back on my experience, I realized that although it began with the loss of the boy's mother, the things I learned about being a mother and a father and the events that transpired changed my life forever and for better. May it be so.
We live in a time, perhaps like all times, but it feels like an especially important time where we're so aware of the world that we live in. We're happy to share with you a beautiful piece, which is a movement from Sources, a UU cantata. It represents wisdom from the world's religions. And we have our wonderful narrators, Linda and Ed, as well as apart from the choir, which weaves together different versions of the Golden Rule and how those versions come together to give us peace. There's an important part for you as well. So in the beginning, the choir will sing the tune of a refrain that will sing over and over again. And you will sing that tune each time it comes up. The choir will sing something different, but that's okay. You can sing the tune.
In the Talmud of the Jewish tradition, the sage Hillel said, "What is hateful to you, do not do to others. This is the whole of the law. All the rest is commentary."
In the Hindu legend of the Mahabharata, the divine Krishna declared, "This is the sum of duty. Do nothing unto others which would cause you pain if done to you."
It is written, it is taught, may it be so.
In the Gospel of Matthew, in the Christian scriptures, the Messiah Jesus says, "Whatever you wish that others would do to you, do so to them."
In the Buddhist text of the Udana Varga, the student is urged, hurt not others in ways that you yourself would find hurtful.
It is written, it is taught. May it be so.
Many windows, one light, many waters, one sea, all lifted hearts are free.
In the Muslim Hadith of Al-Hawahi, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, teaches, "No one of you is a believer unless he desires for his brother that which he desires for himself."
In the Tai Shang treatise of Taoism, the seeker is instructed, regard your neighbor's gain as your gain, and your neighbor's loss as your own loss.
It is written, it is taught, may it be so.
the ancient wisdom of Shinto, there is a saying, the heart of the person before you is a mirror. See there your own form.
The Oglala Lakota spiritual leader Black Elk wrote, "All things are our relatives. What we do to everything, we do to ourselves."
It is written, it is taught. May it be so.
We have all the basic elements for life gathered here in our sanctuary. The Spirit is represented through the Zia and is all around us. Stones represent earth as stability and foundation. Water is essential for hydration and cleansing. Air is all around us full of life, giving oxygen and a breeze to clear away the cloudy thoughts. The fire in our chalice provides a guiding light and reflects the warmth of community. This morning, as you drop a stone in the water, please say aloud the name or names of the individual who mothered you.
Our meditation this morning comes from Victoria Weinstein. We reflect in thanksgiving this day for all those whose lives have nurtured ours. The life-giving ones who heal with their presence, who listen in sympathy, who give us wise advice, but only when asked for it. We are grateful for all those who have mothered us, who have held us gently in times of sorrow, who celebrate with us our triumphs, no matter how small, who noticed when we changed and grew, who praised us for taking tasks, who took genuine pride in our successes, and who expressed genuine compassion when we did not succeed. On this day that honors mothers, let us honor all mothers, men and women alike, from whom somewhere in their being gave freely and wholeheartedly to life, sustenance, and vision for us. Dear God, Mother, Father of us all, grant us life-giving ways, strength for birthing, and a nurturing spirit, that we may take attentive care of our world, our communities, and those precious beings entrusted to us by biology, or by destiny, or by friendships, fellowships, or fate. Give us the heart of a mother today. Amen.
Our last closing hymn is 1026, If Every Woman in the World. Do we want to rise in body or spirit?
Teresa Youngblood has given us these words. May you be invited to the party. May you be asked to dance. May you be amazed to learn that your own precious heart already knows and leaps to the song. And in this moment, whirling and in the expansive affirmation of all creation, an embodiment of the divine's boundless love, may you turn and face the door with arms outstretched to sing in wide welcome the ever-changing song of togetherness to those who have yet to discover that they belong here too.
It is time now to extinguish the flame. Please join me in these words. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.